and be like, oh yeah, she a manipulator because she know that he well off and she's trying to, take him to court and get this amount of money. And I'm just like,
Yup. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? We back up in this thing again. You heard me? Episode 18 of the ShiftMakers podcast. As you already know, I am your host, L the Designer, co-hosting along with me. Baby, let me tell you, I got me. Now, I love my guests. Don't get me wrong. But I probably got me the most special guest I ever had. And that is the beautiful, the amazing, the everything else in the world and what she means to me, my wife, Executive Chef Bria of Vibrant Creole Catering. Just clap it up for my baby right quick. Let him hear your voice right quick, baby. How you doing?
hey y'all, how y'all doing? I'm so glad to be on this episode.
That's right. And y'all know I do things for a reason. I definitely do things for a reason. This isn't just because, I wanted y'all to hear my baby beautiful voice, but it's more so because we have a very interesting topic for y'all today. We have a very, very, very special topic for y'all today. And I felt like who better else to talk about this with than my lovely wife. So, you ready to get into it?
Yep, let's get into it.
All right, well, let's get it. So today for y'all, I actually got a topic today talking about the art of persuasion versus manipulation. So before we jump off that cliff right quick, what are your feelings on just being persuasive?
That's a good one. That's really a good one. So I feel like persuasion, of course, goes hand in hand with manipulation as well. Of course, we're going to go into that on a deeper level. So I feel like there are times when you need to, of course, use persuasions, like in your everyday life. You're going to need it to persuade, people to do things. Maybe that's on your job or, maybe your kids or whatever. You do have to use that to some extent. So there is need for it, of course.
So the way you speaking on it, you making it seem like it's something that's negative. Is persuasion something negative to you?
No. So I'm definitely saying, it can be a positive thing. Like it's not all negative. Yeah, it can be negative as well. But I'm saying there is a need for it, like a positive need for it. Of course, like I mentioned, whether that's you getting a new job or you trying to persuade your boss to give you a promotion.
Okay.
Or, in that good positive light. That's what I mean.
So you basically saying it should be used in moderation.
Right. Yeah. Everything in life needs to be used in moderation. Too much of anything is bad. So
that's true.
Okay, I understand. That makes a lot of sense. So you basically feel like persuasion is something that's, it's okay. It's okay to do as long as, you watching how you do it. You ain't really trying to mess over nobody.
Right.
But you're really trying to watch, of course, how you deal with people and how, of course, the level of influence you have on that individual.
Correct. So that's what I mean. Like you do it in moderation because, of course, once you get outside of that, then that's when it leads to manipulation. So that's
hold on now. Wait. Now you all right? You gotta jump right quick. Don't jump yet. So. All right, well, since you're going to take it there, let me ask you this then. What are your feelings on manipulation? How do you feel about it?
So I really feel like I've from what I've experienced and what I've heard over the years, I feel like it's always spoken in a negative way, in a negative light.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you definitely don't think it's something that needs to be moderated. You think that shit just needs to stay in the corner and left there, don't touch it at all.
Personally, I do. I feel like when it's used in context, it's always used in a negative manner. So, yeah.
Okay. That make a lot of sense. So, Well, if you definitely do feel like, of course, manipulation is something that's just completely negative, shouldn't be touched, and persuasion is, of course, something that can be touched, but slightly a little bit, something done in moderation. I got two definitions for you just to kind of clarify those two things for us a little bit, just to kind of give us a little bit more of a formal explanation of course, persuasion and manipulation.
All right, let's hear it.
So the first definition I got for us today, we actually going to be talking a little bit about persuasion, and it's going to be coming from everybody's best friend, the Merriam-Webster dictionary. And let me just pull everything up right quick. So basically, the definition to persuade, and basically persuasion, of course, is to move by argument. Oh shit, what the hell is that word? Entreaty? Or expulsion to a belief, position, or course of action.
Some big words, huh?
Yeah. And basically, the second definition is to plead with. So to urge someone to do something. Those are the formal definitions of persuasion. And in my book, I do feel like that's pretty accurate. I definitely do feel like, for the most part, that first part, to move by argument, would probably be my personal definition of it. To make someone, of course, be under your influence, I feel. And yeah, I mean, anything you think they may be missing?
No, I feel like that's pretty much accurate for the persuasion definition. That seems, pretty accurate to me, yeah.
So when it comes to manipulation basically, and this is coming from, and of course I'm going to put all of these beautiful citations in the show notes so y'all can definitely get a reading yourselves. I know I definitely do got an educated audience. I definitely do got a small audience that like to do their own research. So I'm going to let y'all do that, of course. And as I was mentioning, the definition of manipulation is going to be coming from the wholefieldgroup.com, basically. And that definition is what causes, and it's not really a definition, it's more so of an explanation, because I couldn't find a very true definition. I'll say a clear definition. So what the explanation of manipulation is what causes anxiety in place of the corruption of persuasion, basically. And to be sure, when persuasion is distorted, it can become manipulative, which is, of course, dangerous. Through manipulation, con artists, cult leaders, dictators, they've all abused, enslaved, and even massacred millions. Oh, shit! However, as detrimental as manipulation is, it should never be confused with persuasion. So you was kind of on the money with that. Persuasion is, of course, something, like you said, should be done in moderation. Mm-hmm. And manipulation is the perversion of persuasion. It cannot be concerned with truth, but rather deceit. So, of course, with lies, with, of course, falsehood, with, of course, basically not telling the truth because you're trying to get over on somebody. Mm-hmm. And that's really kind of the basis of manipulation, right? So it kind of has to be that party that you want to get a clear advantage over. Yeah, and you're doing it with influence in a sense.
Right.
So with all of that being said, do you feel like you can be honest, do you feel like you can be either persuasive or manipulative?
Of course, I'm human. We all human. I'm sure everybody has, to some degree, has been both persuasive and manipulative. Is life. And truly, I say, of course, you can't have one without the other, but I definitely can say that the more people at least try to do without the other, the world will be such a better place, because you can be persuasive and still get things, get things accomplished. But when it comes to being manipulative, I must be deceitful and say stuff to manipulate this person to get something. It's just done so I'm just saying it is evil. It can't be evil. Yeah.
You think it can?
I definitely think it is. Like when you have to take it to that point to manipulate somebody to do what you know.
Well, I don't want to necessarily say evil, and I definitely do agree with you for the majority of what you were saying. I don't want to necessarily say evil because people, I feel like, can be manipulative out of desperation. And if you're manipulative out of desperation, and we see it all of the time, you could kind of be jaded by what's really right or wrong. You know, jaded by, of course, what's morally the right thing to do. Yeah, and ethically, ethically the right thing to do. And to give you an example of that, like in sales, like sometimes, say for instance, people who sell like life insurance. Sometimes people could be a little bit manipulative. So for instance, I actually saw this video not too long ago and the dude was like, yeah, you know, I'm a multi-million-dollar CEO and I started by selling life insurance. And he's a black dude. He was like, all of the black people that I know, they don't really know about anything about life insurance. And that's the reason why our community is in the state that it is. You know, we don't really know too much about shit. And the reason why every time we die, you know, somebody, you know, of course, pass, they don't really have any way to help themselves and to, of course, better their family, which for the most part, it's true. I'm not going to lie and act like I disagree a lot with that. Right. But he took that point all to really sell insurance. He basically was like, and with all of that being said, y'all should kind of get my my coverage, which is like twice as much as what a person should be paying for coverage. Like he was giving like a $200 insurance plan per month for like $300,000 worth of coverage, which if y'all know anything about life insurance is never worth that. Like I got way more coverage than that for a fraction of that price. But basically with all of that being said, that's a way people can manipulate because of course, you know, they thinking, oh, I need this sale at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, maybe deceive a little bit. Maybe, you know, pull back the truth a little bit and, you know, serve them with a little bit of a lie right quick just to get this sale off. So that is wrong, but I could see people doing that in the business world, the quote unquote sales world. And it's not just sales. You see people do it in advertising. I'm in advertising. I see people manipulate like.
I mean, that's kind of like those are roles where you kind of, not to say you have to be, but most likely those are roles where you really kind of end up taking it there. Because, of course, that's a really demanding job where you kind of have to persuade people to, hey, buy this service from me or whatever. And, you know, they may get to the point where, okay, persuasion ain't working. So, you know, might have to manipulate a couple of people to get, you know, some sales. So I can definitely see that being used a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we see it all of the time. You know, anywhere we go, everywhere we go to, they mention the Max and the Maxine. That has a lot to, you know, what you're seeing in the media and what you're seeing in places. And I'm not telling you to get it or not because to each their own, but what you're seeing has a lot to do with advertising and, of course, how people are manipulating through advertising, which is completely unethical to me, someone who's in advertising. You know, there is that fine line between persuasion and manipulation, but if you do it to, say, for instance, if you push fear is crossing that line. That's manipulation because you're trying to sell off of a flight or die emotion. Now, you can advertise off of emotion, but don't advertise off of the flight or die emotions like fear or like hunger or like, you know, certain emotions where it's like survival kind of.
Right.
You know, certain things is kind of sort of unethical to advertise off of in my book, I feel, because it could be manipulative.
So I kind of have something, but it's kind of outside of not outside of what I'm talking about, but how do you feel about people and relationships? How do you feel about when people, of course, you always hear this, oh, he a manipulator, she a manipulator. How do you feel regarding relationships? Why do people feel the need to manipulate one another to do, you know, what they need to get from one another or whatever? Because I hear that a lot in relationships in general.
And it's actually funny that you say that because that's going to be sort of kind of what we getting into today. We're actually going to be talking about a little bit about, you know, how in relationships that type of thing can go down, and how can you, of course, see that when it happens, and call a person out over that type of shit. 'Cause that's the only ways those type of things get resolved. But I do feel like that definitely do happen a lot in relationships, especially when one person is a bit gullible, or when one person is a simp, or when one person maybe don't know how to set boundaries, or when one person, I mean, you can go all types of little examples of how someone can be easily manipulated in relationships. Like what you think?
Oh yeah, it's definitely there. Like you said, it's really a boundary issue. If you don't set boundaries with one another, then yeah, this person is gonna, of course, maybe walk all over you. Like you said, use manipulation as a tool to get what they want and things like that. So definitely agree.
And yeah, and it could be done in really a way, now that I'm thinking about it, if one person in a relationship have a whole lot of money and another person don't have a whole lot of money.
Maybe. That's only to some extent. To some extent, yeah, but not really.
If one person, and I'm not saying that one person is the breadwinner, I'm necessarily saying, for instance, let's look at a celebrity example, right? So you see all motherfucking types of celebrities, athletes, whatever it may be. They'll find their partner. Of course, their partner 9 times out of 10 is a little bit more less well off, I'll say, compared to them. So they're not a millionaire. And we see it. Those people normally, well, not normally, but some of those people get manipulated. Like, some of those people will literally be like, when they break up, of course, they'll be writing a book talking about, yeah, I can't believe 50 Cent did this and that when we was together, and he wound up talking to other bitches, and that, and then he.
Actually, not to cut you off, but I actually got some interesting things that I was thinking about.
What?
So, and you're on the right road, what I was thinking. So actually, like you said, if we want to talk about, say, for instance, these basketball players that be getting caught up and stuff, and they have these chicks or whatever that be kind of, not to say trapping them, but like they eventually end up having a baby by them, of course. And, all of a sudden they want this amount of money for child support and stuff. And like, it's so many of those different scenarios, of course, that we see on Instagram and stuff, and be like, oh yeah, she a manipulator because she know that he well off and she's trying to, take him to court and get this amount of money. And I'm just like, wow.
That's the other side of manipulation.
Right.
Like I told you about how the rich person can manipulate, but now you got in turn someone manipulating the law, because that's what you basically brought up was the child support stuff. That's law. So if the tables are turned and on the chessboard, somebody, well, people don't know chess, so fuck chess. But basically, somebody take a high position now because they have the law in their favor. And with that, you now have the ability to manipulate the other person. Of course, we're not recommending any of these things because you would be a trifling person if you do those things. But we just calling out what it is. Mm-hmm. And with all of that being said, now that we jumping on to relationships, I actually got our first clip of the day.
Oh, I wonder what this is.
Well, I'm glad you're wondering, because we actually going to be talking about assertiveness, aggression, and how they play roles in relationships, right? And I'm playing this because I actually really want to know your opinion on this. Of course, as a woman, it's definitely valuable to get your 2 cents and, how you feel about this. And because this clip is actually going to be coming from the Joe Budden podcast, where this is when Rory and Maul was on. And they basically, again, going to be guiding us into assertive versus aggressiveness in relationships.
Woman, because women will say, "Yo, I like an assertive man. I like an aggressive."
Aggressive just sounds
assertive,
aggressive. Is different from aggressive.
No, but you can be
Some
aggressive.
women like aggressive though.
Some women like aggressive men.
Off the rip. Yes.
Some women do. Right?
Of course, not all.
But you don't have to be.
A woman's definition of aggressive and a man's definition of aggressive may be different.
No. Joe, you got to go further than that. Everyone's definition of what's inappropriate and what's not inappropriate is different. That's what I'm saying. It varies depending on the person. Women like aggressive men, and not saying aggressive like physically aggressive, but like, yo, get dressed, be ready at 8, I'm coming to get you, like that type of shit.
So, of course, he not talking about put your hands on you aggressive. He more so talking about verbally aggressive, of course.
But you do that to some women that may not want that from you, and that can be looked at as inappropriate. So what, as a man, what do you do now?
Get engaged. Beat off. Beat off. No, get engaged. We killing.
Yeah. So I do actually, of course, now I'm not asking for your preference. I ain't asking you which one you like, because of course not everybody need to know about that, you hear me? But what I am asking is the overall woman's perspective. How do they feel? Because you, of course, as you are a woman, you know, have friends, you got aunties, you got cousins, you got mamas, you got whatever it may be. So I want to know if you can guide us into that perspective regarding this. Verbal aggression, of course.
So, I actually agree with what they were saying. Of course, I feel like most women go after, of course, the assertiveness male figure. Because we as women, I feel like, you know, it said that we want somebody that take charge, of course.
Right.
You know, take charge always. Don't be like soft or whatever. So I do agree to some extent. Like, we do like that mannerism, but it really depends on the woman.
Right. So it's basically, well, yeah, you said it, of course, is depending on the individual.
Right.
But y'all do like and want, of course, somebody that ain't, let's just keep it a bean, that ain't no whip, that ain't no pussy, that ain't no fill in the blank.
Of course.
Right. So if you know that, and women know that, how do they feel about being persuaded / manipulated when it comes to those type of verbal aggression interactions? So, of course, like he was saying, the mall dude, he was like, yeah, I'm going to be home in 10 minutes, go get dressed and all that shit. So when it comes to that, how do, of course, just the overall woman perspective feel on that? I know that's a loaded question because you're not every woman in the world, but you talk to a few.
I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, for instance, like, of course, like I know a lot of women say they like for their man to, you know, plan dates and stuff, spontaneous dates, like, you know, just get dressed and we going somewhere, you know.
Right.
We women like that because we want spontaneous in a relationship. We want to keep it, the excitement and everything. So we do enjoy that. So I see nothing wrong with taking charge and being assertive about things. So, and I do like what we're getting with this because I do feel like at certain times of, you know, you got to be a little bit lenient with your boundaries. By that, you got to have that in the back of your head. You know, you don't want nobody talking to you like anybody. You don't want nobody cursing you out, you know, talking down on you, speaking negatively about you to your face and nothing like that. You don't want that. And again, this is an overall woman thing. Are women kind of able to decipher that? Are they able to kind of know when it's being a little bit too far? Or do you feel like they just look past it and be like, oh, well, that's just him being him? No, I definitely think we can notice that as women. We definitely know when he's being assertive and then when he's being downright aggressive. Of course, it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. So we, of course, know how to, you know, decipher, you know, the difference between the two. Of course, you know, how is he saying it? Is it coming off as, you know, oh, he generally just want to, you know, take charge and like be assertive? Or is it coming off as, oh, he aggressively like saying this and that? Like, we can definitely decipher both. Right. Well, yeah. So, okay. So y'all are completely aware, of course. And that's what I figured myself. Oh, yeah.
And basically, if y'all are aware, I have one question that I do want to ask you in particular. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like some women are jaded by previous relationships that they've had? Because maybe they did have that one relationship with a dude which is being too aggressive. He was talking to you crazy. He was doing whatever he needed to do to piss you off that day and was like, man, I can't deal with another nigga like this no more. So if that's the case, do you feel like some women are jaded by that experience?
Of course. Past relationships, of course, can definitely deter you from, really, really good relationships. So if that's what you dealt with in the past, of course, you had somebody that was super aggressive. It may be hard for you to really decipher that when you maybe come into a different relationship and, he's not aggressive, but he's assertive, and you may kind of get both confused, So I definitely think women that's been in those type of relationships where it maybe was an aggressive situation, it may be hard for them to decide it.
And you think that leads them to getting taken advantage of?
I wouldn't say advantage really has anything to do with it. It just...
And by advantage, I mean like literally manipulated. So...
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, yeah, like of course well, let's say he's a good guy, then no. But if it's another guy and knows that, she dealt with that, he may, like you say, use that to an advantage and be the same way. And use that, yeah.
And on the other hand, they'll probably ruin shit. Like I could see that ruining a lot of, people relationships, because now she's so anti-trust.
Right.
She can't even open up her feelings. She can't even speak the real with him. She can't tell him how she truly feels. She can't tell him when he really being an asshole. She can't tell him when, she really don't want fuck. She can't tell him when she blank, blank, and blank. So if that's the case, then do you feel like those women would really even like find somebody? Because at a certain point, you could kind of just be trapped in how you feel. You could be trapped in being jaded,
Yeah, I mean, really, it depends on the woman and if she's up for the challenge and, to do the work, because that's really an inside job that she'll have to work on, of course. Dealing with something like that, of course, she'll have to eventually know, that assertiveness and aggressive are two totally different feelings and emotions, And yeah.
That's true.
Why you ended it like that? And yeah.
I got lost in what I was thinking about. I was trying to follow up something, but I forgot.
Well, no, it's good. So basically, you kind of gave us a nice little stopping point. Well, I really wanted to remind everybody, of course, advertising, that can, of course, be done through manipulation, through persuasion. But we don't do none of that over here. You hear me? We actually operate under the value for value system, where you have the opportunity, of course, to give value back. And that can be done, of course, through donating, listening all the way through. If you do want to donate, we definitely do got that PayPal and Venmo linked in the show notes. So definitely don't be a shy giver, you hear me? But of course, just listening all the way through, telling somebody about what you heard, sharing this, liking it, subscribing on YouTube, subscribing on any platform that you're listening to. All of these different type of things, you are definitely giving value back. And we definitely do appreciate that. So, of course, consider all of the value that you got from this show. And definitely don't be afraid to give it back. And with all of that being said, I got our next clip of the day where we're going to be really addressing this one question. Can women take advantage of men? And if so, can we as men express when we are comfortable or when we are being taken advantage of, or, when we definitely don't like that feeling? And of course, this is going to be coming from the Joe Budden podcast, Rory and Mel, of course, but here it is.
I was right here.
She caressed your fucking inner thigh.
Chub Rock.
She took advantage of you, actually. See, and that's the thing that's interesting. Women can do it.
Yeah, Was I just
women could touch men,
just violated?
not ask, not care how you feel.
How do you feel? Well,
she didn't even
I'll
check
be
this
HR.
nigga.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned.
You're a little shaken up?
Yeah, this workplace doesn't feel
stab
safe.
me if I touched him like that.
There was a woman.
Yes, I would stab any man
That's
if
my
they touch me.
point. Shit's crazy.
There was a woman at the last pool party that how she was behaving. I was like, yo, if a man did this, he would be in jail. This woman is roaming around making every man here feel uncomfortable, grabbing their dicks. They're saying, hey, stop grabbing my dick. And she's just continuing to do it.
So, I mean, I ain't about to go too far into that, of course. But I do want to know, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like, of course, there is like a certain line that can be crossed when it comes to women taking advantage of men?
Yes. And first of all, that's like a very extreme clip that you shared. But anyways.
I mean, it's extreme, but
like,
it happens. I'm gonna say that.
It is pretty extreme, but
it happens.
Of course, I feel like we, male or female, we take advantage of each other regardless, if the opportunity is there. But I do agree that, women, of course, there's definitely like a line between, of course, women take advantage of men and then a man taking advantage of a woman is definitely frowned upon. I think, us as women, we do get a pass on certain things, that a man just can't get a pass with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, of course,
It's double standards.
Yeah, double standards, definitely.
So, do you feel like we as men can express that? Or do you feel like when we do, we pussy?
I definitely think, like when y'all do express it, y'all look at, oh, he can't handle it, or he being soft, or he being a pussy. So I do think that it's probably harder for a male to express that than a woman.
Well, I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's, and it's not really anything that's, again, like you right, this is a very extreme clip when it comes to that. But if we could just peel it back a little bit, taking advantage of don't necessarily, again, gotta just mean those type of things. It could also mean in just clear conversation. So, for instance, if a woman know that a man working his ass off, trying to do this and that, maybe trying to get his mama something for Mother's Day, trying to take care of his little sister or his little brother or whatever it may be, but she come around because she sees something on Instagram that her friend got, or her whatever it may be, another woman got. So she like, let me go tell my man. And basically when she do that, knowing that man got so much he trying to do, he trying to be the most amazing man in the world, just taking care of everybody and everything. And she does it in a way knowing that he can't say no.
That's what I was about to cut you off right there. So he can only be taken advantage of if he lets her.
And you're right.
So again, men being maybe being hard to express that, but of course, y'all can definitely, nip that in the bud.
Well, excuse me, big dog.
And I agree with you to a certain extent, I'll say that. Because sometimes you can get taken advantage of without the person really wanting to be taken advantage of. And that's what manipulation kind of comes in. Because manipulation is is that next level persuasion. It's like, you, for instance, just to go back to that example with the, of course, the girl and the dude trying to take care of stuff, but the girl wants something in particular. I mean, she could literally be like, yeah, I need this. And you know what? You told me for Christmas, you was going to get me this, that, and the third. But since you didn't have the money at the time, you couldn't do it. And I said, oh, it's all right, baby. Don't worry about it. But now I kind of really want this. So what you going to do? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now it's like the dude, he now in the back of his mind like, damn, you know what? She kind of right. I did kind of work with her for Christmas. I did kind of make sure, I'm going to take care of her a little bit later on. But now I have other things, other priorities and stuff. So it's kind of like you see what I'm saying? I can see that guy now being taken advantage of in that sense.
Right.
So in certain instances, it is kind of like, you can't really help it. Which actually brings us to our last clip of the day. And it's going to be talking about that next level manipulation. It's going to be talking about that shit that I actually touched on episode 9. I believe it was episode 9, either episode 8 or episode 9. We was talking about being a victim mentality, victim mindset. And I believe it was called Always a Victim. So if y'all haven't tuned into that, definitely tune into that, because a lot of people told me that that's one of their favorites. So peep that. But it's basically going to be talking about victim psychology manipulation in this last clip. And it's really going to be getting into the details of how, and even in relationships, a person can be literally taken advantage of by another person just through victimhood.
Segments of the Black church.
Oh, and my bad. This actually going to be coming from our partners, you heard me, at the Mo Facts podcast, Mo Facts and Adam Curry. Of course, I'm going to put a little link in the show notes for that. And yeah.
This thing has been going around for a while now, and it's called emotional witchcraft.
Emotional witchcraft.
And stay with me now. I know they talking about witchcraft and spells and stuff, and people think, oh, there's fantasy and Disney. No. Just stay with me and listen to the whole clip. Shut up and listen.
But the modern term for emotional witchcraft is victim psychology. Y'all need to write that down. If you look up victim psychology is a mindset of the modern self-centered person. But the spiritual understanding of emotional psychology
bad for the audio.
Victim psychology is emotional witchcraft. That means someone is using their emotions to control yours.
Someone is using their emotions to control yours. I'll say that again. Someone is using their emotions to control your emotions. Hence, taking advantage of you, because once you have, again, back to our example in advertising, that's the number one thing they do, is they advertise off of emotion. Once you have someone's emotion, you can sell them anything in the world. So, I'll let them finish.
For we know witchcraft is control, basically. It's control. Y'all got that? Manipulation, intimidation, and domination. That's the way witchcraft operates. Witchcraft operates in manipulation, to trick, to intimidate, to scare, and dominate, to force. So, emotional witchcraft is the intimidation, the manipulation, or the forcing of your emotions. You got
forcing your emotions. So basically pulling them shits right out your body and forcing them to go in one direction or the other.
Saying. And you have to understand that this is how the modern person thinks.
Man, there's a lot of people under that kind of spell right now.
That is how the modern person thinks. Absolutely right, which is exactly why we're trying to get y'all to think for yourself. So, now that you know what did he say? Victim psychology manipulation is, how do you feel about that?
That's deep right there. Like, I don't even have no words to describe that, because that's really very true. The victim mentality, that's really, everybody knows that's true. Having that mentality and stuff. But even more, of course, them saying, your emotions, being able to control somebody else's emotions, that's deep as well. Like you said, we see it all the time, of course, in advertisement, sales, definitely.
And not just that, but being able to control somebody else's emotions with your emotions. Right. So you can be crying, for instance, not you in particular, of course, but somebody could literally be crying just to control somebody else, because they know if the person who they're crying around maybe may love them, they can persuade them to do the next thing. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing if someone's mad. If someone's too mad, they know people around them is likely going to try their best to calm them down so they can get that, that all worked out just to, again, tell whoever they're around a certain thing to persuade them in one situation or one way or another because they know that person, they're trying to get calmed down. You see what I'm saying? So it's all types of emotions you can manipulate somebody. Hell, you could manipulate somebody on emotion of lust. Is that an emotion? Lust?
No, lust is the... Is it an emotion? It's a feeling?
Well, all right. Well, just forget about lust. You can you can manipulate somebody on, being happy and shit, like, or being sad, or, whatever it may be, all types of emotions you can manipulate someone out of just because of how you are. And that's basically what he was just saying. He was saying you kind of really have to be aware of that, be cognizant of that, and really watch out for when you see someone doing that to you, because it's clear as day they're caught in victimhood and they're caught in manipulating you because they know that they're a victim. So, and by that I literally mean, for instance, just trying to give you an example. Say, shit, I don't know why I can't think of nothing right now. Normally I'm good with these examples. Right. But say, for instance, you sitting up here and something common that happened, right? Last year, a lot of people lost their job. I lost my job. Of course, I got another job, but I lost my job. And someone can be basically extremely sad over that. I mean, my God, how am I going to pay my bills? How I'm going to get my baby this purse? How I'm going to go ahead and flex on these niggas like I told them I was going to do? How I'm going to do this, that, and the third, you know what I mean? So that can, of course, that type of situation can make someone very sad, right?
Right.
Now, if they're around someone who loves them, who just don't want to see them sad, they just want to see them be a very happy person, well, then that sad person can, every single time they want something from that person, just act like they sad now and blame it on them losing their job. Yeah, I just can't believe I lost my job, even though it's day 375. I just can't believe they let me go like that, bro. I just can't believe they, the
pity party.
Exactly. They're looking for pity because when they get that pity, they're able to kind of control somebody because now they have a little bit of that sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, that pity party is definitely real. We all have these people around us that always want somebody to throw a pity party on them, putting their emotions over the next person, making them feel sorry for them so they can, get something out of it. Of course, we see it all the time.
I mean, we see it with the media for sure. The media be, trying to manipulate the shit out of us when we, of course, see someone maybe getting off during a court case or whatever it may be, and they try and be like, oh, well, if he was black, he wouldn't have been this, that, and third. Or if during January 6th, where they had the little Capitol riots, oh, if they was black, they would have been killed on the steps before they was even able to get into blank, blank, blank. All of these different type of things, my friends. It's victim psychology manipulation. They are trying to manipulate us into being victims so they can control our emotions, so that we can go out there and protest. We can go out there and act like asses. We could do all of this crazy ass shit that they want us to do because, again, once we do that, they have us in their control. I'm sure y'all know this. I'm sure y'all understand this. And basically, once they capture our emotions in those type of ways, just say going back to the Capitol riot thing, oh, well, if they was black people that rioted the Capitol, they would have been slaughtered before they even got to the window. Saying some shit like that pulls emotions out of someone. It pulls trauma out of someone. It makes them think my life obviously ain't worth the value of another person's life, right?
Right.
So that in turn, you now have the ability to manipulate them because now they can be angry about that. They can be angry about their life not being worth this, that, and the third. And now they won't do something about it. You see what I'm saying? And when you got them wanting to take action, it's the easiest way to manipulate. So, with all of that being said, I definitely do hope y'all choose to take action in the right way, you hear me? The right way just by, of course, thinking about how you want to support the show, thinking about the value you got from the show, and then just thinking about how you can give it back, you heard me? And of course, like I mentioned earlier, that can be done through our donations, through PayPal, of course, through Venmo, linked in the show notes, of course. Listening all the way through, telling somebody about the show, telling somebody about the ShiftMakers, because of course we definitely do need that. Subscribing. I mean, if you on the socials, commenting, telling us what you like, telling us what you didn't like, we definitely do appreciate that. Leaving a review. All of these things are extremely valuable. All of these things help battle manipulation. And with all of that being said, I am your host, El the Designer, checking in live, of course, from Color Command Creative Studio out here in Atlanta, Georgia. With me,
Hey y'all, it's Bria.
Executive Chef Bria, of course, of Vibrant Creole Catering. We gonna definitely keep the business in the show notes, so if y'all want to check out the most amazing Cajun food, the most amazing Creole food in Atlanta, you definitely want to check that out. And with all of that being said, episode 18 of the ShiftMakers podcast.